Welcome back to the spin-off series. It's the opportunity for me to dig through DisneyPlus's underbarrel of projects I imagine most of us just kinda disregard, right? Well, picture me surprised when I came to notice a thumbnail option for Zootropolis Plus, releasing just in November gone, and said to be a limited television series that takes place during the events of the movie. Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if this is more of the direction Disney is hoping to take in the future, what with Baymax getting his own spin-off series and Ice Age attempting a whole Disney Plus movie. So let's get into one more spin-off formula to see just how well it expands the universe of Zootropolis and whether it was even worth the effort in the first place. So, Zootropolis Plus is an hour long, being a collection of 6 10-minute episodes, each focusing on their own micro-story. And episode 1 starts us off with the Rabbit Hop family. And first things first, you'll notice the animation quality is 100% to a T accurate to the aesthetic of the movie. That's not always a guarantee, since some spin-offs choose to go for an entirely new style like 2D, or even just keeping it cheaper to cut down on budget, but I guess it makes sense that Disney has no intention of cutting such corners for one of their main projects. That being said, there is a 2D opening credits. Anyway, episode 1 directly takes from the moment Judy Hopps says her goodbyes to the family and boards the train to Zootropolis.
Look at her, Bond. Living her dream.
Oh, she's coming back.
Okay, be cool, be cool.
That's not in the original movie. We just see them looking sad silently in the background. I really like this kind of fleshing out. Always enjoy seeing something from a new angle. Maybe I'm still hooked on the hoodwinked effect. Anyway, the train sets off and we see more of the parents' reaction, and a reaction it is because...
No! Baby!
Oh, baby! Molly's on the train.
This episode is all about catching up to Molly and chasing that train, all the while playing with Zootropolis' original storyboard for some extra parodious gags. It's really cheeky, but it's really fun too. A hint of that Endgame Guardians joke, and that was also by Disney, but hey, I'll allow it. But the parents go to chase the train by car, bringing out more lore in the form of siblings.
I should have been doing my head count. Allie, Abby, Annie,
Don't forget
Annie,
Aggie.
Ashley, Archibald.
Hang on.
It's all a great expansion of our established characters to bring out some of their talents to the forefront in a way that's immediately interesting and investing to us starting the series out on an action sequence, as well as some blink and you'll miss it Easter eggs, like catching Gideon Grey before he makes a business dealing with the parents. This whole series is just Easter eggs, yet it feels like such a refreshing little love letter to the series, though not all jokes are winners.
Oh, there is a dirty diaper in there.
Ooh, that cleared my arthritis up.
What? But after a few more beats of parental techno mishaps and a brief appearance from the Nature Club, we catch the family breaching into the city themselves. Now, not just gags in their relationship, but also some environmental jokes, since the city seems a lot more brutal when you're not in the comfort of a bullet train. And some teasing the timeline more by catching Nick before his first official appearance. And now they've reached their final destination. Crashing in on just the bonnet with a newfound sense of adventure and strengthening their bond together evermore.
Oh, you were exciting. Wow.
And ending it off with a cheeky finale since Judy never notices them in the city, having to return right back for the return train journey.
Whoa, ho, actually, oh, that's pretty sore.
Oh, you can nap when you're home.
It's a charming reinterpretation of the start of the movie that I find very welcoming and wholesome, and they totally talked about it in their FaceTime that they canonically had later on. Episode 2, I hate. Kinda. It has a specific genre it's going for, and it's not personally my thing. It's a parody of the Real Housewives. I guess emblematic of this modern cityscape, it focuses on our Arctic shrew Frou-Frou as she handles the reality TV dramas of setting up for her wedding, choosing out of her friends who to be the maid of honor. It is at the very least pretty interesting to see the new camera perspectives to mimic this genre, with more handheld shots and a lot of focus pulling, not to mention the breaks up to interviews.
Oh honey, we were inseparable as little furballs.
Now this one seems a lot more detached to the timeline of the movie and very much comes off as its own little sub-story for the most part. Though I do like some of the scale jokes, like this polar bear guardsman being real nervous to pour a single drop of champagne. Until the episode escalates into a scuffle between Frou-Frou and True-True, the bears pulling them apart, and everyone storming out of the store and onto another, until we come to see that it does connect to the main plot, right as they start walking out of Mousie's to be surprised with...
I love your hair.
Not quite the usual dramatic twist you'd expect from a reality TV script, though they should totally script that. And suddenly I was a lot more on board with the episode, and it leads right into the plot of the TV show's TV show with a healthy dose of existential dread.
When you're nearly crushed by a giant donut, you get a little perspective on things.
And on that note, Frou-Frou goes to mend her wrongdoings and preps herself for her wedding night, with an extra little nod to the main plot that I figure is not canon. Gotta love the cheery brass at the credits anyway. Just under halfway through, if you're liking it so far, subscribe. I could really do with some spin-off suggestions for this new-ish series, so let me know what exists. DreamWorks shorts, like that time they brought back Farquaad as a ghost in the Shrek universe, direct-to-DVD Disney sequels I should venture to, or just TV series you enjoyed as a kid. I'll take them all on our Discord server, or check out our Linktree for sites of all our other outlets. And now we're on to episode 3, and I think something that's really enjoyable to see is every episode is essentially showcased in a new genre. Sure, I'm not a big fan of the reality TV spin, but this episode is a musical, and all focused on Duke Weaselton. Of course, Andy Tudyk came forth for another Disney production, with Duke the Musical. Probably more of a non-canonical story this time along, following Weaselton after his arrest during the city chase sequence in the main movie, and everyone looking at him as an embarrassing, small-time crook. So he runs and hides to his back alley home and wondering where it all went wrong. Until a spotlight comes in.
I chose the wrong path, which I've lived to regret.
It's a moment of self-reflection in the night as he robs an unknowing lady and considers a life of honesty. Now with all sorts of fantasy choreography, from a talking 2D Weaselton banknote to unique assets and backgrounds as he dreams more into the hypothetical.
Wars were not always my friend. There you go. That was my journey.
Imagining himself as a wheeler and dealer, a lawyer, a book writer, or perhaps a little more worryingly,
Or as a surgeon with an urgent need to donate organs.
how wholesome, yet so well presented with that glow of red lighting, keeping it thematic while not traumatizing kids. Anyway, this song slaps.
How I went big time, from small time to big time.
As it just continues, the Weasel of Wall Street becoming a guru with some psychedelic visuals, gags for the parents to understand, oil,
And maybe I'll shoot for the stars and then upon the moon.
crypto apparently. Oh god, Duke would totally be into NFTs. All widening out to his throne of possessions and money, everything he could ever want and dream of, before being pulled down by hands and into the void within his crown. I mean, the animators and choreographers are really showing off this entire episode since it's just all chaotic visuals and smart choices. I'm enamored by it all.
Your premiums are outrageous.
You took my kidney. This was a terrible car.
And dropping Weaselton back to reality, splayed on a floor with just a handful of bills for the depressing verse of reality.
And choose to be a good guy.
Rising from his lowest point to start the steps to making it big time, finally doing the right thing for the successes it would bring. But wait, that doesn't line up to how we see him later in the timeline of the actual movie. But luck won't put him on that path, and playing the long game of money making just won't cut it for Duke, with a splay of money bags landing right in front of him. Typical. And thus, Duke had a good moment to himself, but stays on the track of life he's been given. Very much a fun side story for nout but entertainment, and some Andy Tudyk goodness. Episode 4, though, I think has to be my favorite, acting as an old-timey background to Mr. Big. Yes, we're on the Arctic Shrew again as it's wedding time, whereby Big Boss comes in with his tale of how he rose the ranks.
The old country, 1926,
As we learn, the old boy came in as a spry, optimistic young lad against a less progressive city of animals, where tiny animals had no residential zone and had to just handle being at the mercy of giant footsteps, with a classic bakery delivery job, battered down by the big world. What's especially great about this episode is that it adds so much to the actual world building of Zootropolis. I never thought I cared about how Zootropolis developed into its form in the modern day, but I'm super happy to see this unfold. Anyway, Baby Big with his tiny bike is eventually a master of his craft, dodging this way and that, building up an investment jar of coins, a hard worker climbing the ladder. And even spotting some polar bears hiding in the shaded alleyway because they're overheating. The city wasn't acclimated for all sorts of species yet, not just the little guys. That's so cool to hear. And helping them out rose his influence with a kid polar bear helper until...
There's no place for vermin like you in this city.
And you can bet there were some political grievances like this from that time period. Why do I want a full Zootropolis prequel? And the giant crooks run away with the family's entire investment jar. All seems lost if it wasn't for the tenacity of Mr. Big, fighting back against the rhino the only way he knows how, and using his influence on the rest of the community too. Committing his first icing, and it couldn't be done if not for the contribution of the whole community coming together. Mr. Big would grow the business in size, assist the bears with running a side business of ice shredding, and becoming the mob boss who gave jobs in their own back alley, building their own place in the world and in this city.
Little Rodentia, from humble beginnings, great things happened.
Mr. Big is the one who even established the tiny residential district. That is so cool to learn. A mob syndicate that is behind boosting the community that surrounds them. And with that backstory all explained, it's about him giving a speech at his daughter's wedding and wishing the best for the happy couple. They'll never be small. Mwah, what an episode. Episode 5 is all about Officer Clawhauser and Chief in regards to a Gazelle audition. Clawhauser is going mad wanting to reach this audition, but needs a partner, and grabs the Chief, who's led to believe it's an important operation instead. They breach into the studio in disguise, and then as the Chief finds out, he abandons him, only to eventually turn it around as the Chief does get involved, now using Gazelle's own wings and apparently a wire setup coming from nowhere to fly them both up and around the skies for the perfect audition.
Now, let's dance our pants off.
And so they do. Not really much on the choreography, but angelic, sure. As they get the golden buzzer from the judges, readying for a pop star career.
Wow, you are one hot dancer.
But it was all a dream, of course. A needless side plot that links to the exact same realization from the movie. Though in the official demonstration...
Benjamin Clawhauser.
Did you think it was real? It looks so real.
It's a little later on, as Clawhauser is awake at the reveal of this app. And even more so than that, instead of some guy being the one commanding him for backup...
We need backup! Oh, yes, oh, backup! Sending backup!
In the movie, it's actually Judy Hopps herself calling for it.
Clawhauser, listen to me. We have a 1091. Jaguar gone. Savage.
And following that, Clawhauser in the spin-off goes straight to the Chief as he jiggles over the Gazelle dream himself.
Chief Bogo!
Not now.
Wait, is that Gazelle?
This is identical to the movie, but actually takes place way later, when Judy has already found all the savage creatures. So maybe this calling is for that request. As in the movie, Clawhauser claims...
Officer Hopps just called. She found all of them.
Which isn't necessarily as much of a frantic call for backup. Either way, the episode ends there, telling us what the police boys were doing as Judy tackles the jungle and waterfall. And finally, we have episode 6. In the Baymax spin-off, the final episode had all our newly established characters coming together as a great wrapping thread piece, but since this show is already tied to the main movie plot, I guess that's not so much an option. So instead, we have hospitality, work in a restaurant, and those dang sloths for customers. Hilarity ensues.
No. Problem.
Great.
Will. Order.
Excellent.
Meanwhile, the worker is desperate to finish to catch the Gazelle concert that evening. There's no big action sequence, everything stays in this single room, it's just playing around with your established gag, knowing that the last sloth scene was one of the movie's best. The otter moves forward the table, gives them glasses, and ignores the other guests, the whole shebang. She kicks off for waiting, serves everyone else, and perfectly misses the order.
And...
Apologies.
That's
Have you decided?
everything.
Not to mention, there's a kissing scene, a corkscrew scene, and that one just causes mayhem.
Sorry, Gerald.
And now the entire restaurant is angered by her service. Your classic hee-hee-ha-ha of an episode. If it wasn't for one last wholesome twist.
Will you marry me?
And with that, a surprise, beautiful moment is made, and the British otter decides to stay back serving them for the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity they brought that night.
Actually, we're in a...
Rush.
looping us right back around to the final moments of the Zootropolis film, of course, with Flash being pulled over for speeding, keeping the show perfectly aligned with the start and end of our cinematic timeline, just with some extra details we hadn't seen before.
Nick.
I think I'll walk.
And that was Zootropolis Plus. A surprising project to exist, but you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed it. Each episode with its unique genre and side story were each compelling and, at least for the most part, really breathed new life into this established world. It's clear that the creators at work at Disney have a real passion for the world of Zootropolis, and I wouldn't say no to more expansive content like that from both this Animal Kingdom or from Disney as a whole. I mean, they have a platform to upload to with DisneyPlus, so might as well make the most of it. I haven't seen too many movie spin-offs in my life, but out of the handful I've seen so far, I'd have to say this stands up as one of the best I've been exposed to yet. Know of any others I should get to know? Let me know. But for now, my name's been Dazz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.